Hi, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. Today's tip is don't let people tell you your dreams are dumb. And here is why they aren't. They might be dumb to them, but they're not dumb to you. And if you let other people control your life, you're going to be miserable. And you're probably wondering what this has to do with frugality. So, one of the reasons I am so frugal is because of what I like to do when I'm not being frugal. My passion is travel. I like to hike. I like to camp. I like to explore new places and new cultures and everything. Like that's my passion. And for years, people told me, oh, Melissa, that's not a hobby. Traveling is not a hobby. And I would say my hobby is traveling. They'd say, no, that's not a hobby. And they'd be like, well, you go on vacation. I used to travel a lot. Like I would camp on the weekends or I would, and I mean, it didn't have to even be far. I mean, sometimes I would go a few hours away and just get lost in nature. Sometimes I would, go and travel the US for 6 weeks. Sometimes I would, you know, uh, go up to go up for the weekend to see a total eclipse. Lots and lots of things that um, I've done, and travel is my hobby. And people are always like amazed because I would decide on like a moment's notice. Okay, I'm going. I have 3 days. I'm going to go here. I have this. I'm going to go there. And I've met other people who travel a lot too, and they're like, I don't know if I call it a hobby. I would. And so it wasn't until I saw there's only one other person I've ever seen who's called traveling a hobby, and she also does like YouTube. She's a influencer. She's far more successful than me. Um, but when she said it, I was like, it's not just me. I'm not the only one whose special interest and whose hobby is travel. But love, love, love to travel. And so, um, so my dreams, I want to bike across the U.S. Sounds absolutely crazy, but it's doable. Um, I want to walk across Rhode Island just so I can say that I walked across a state. I mean, sounds dumb, but it's something. And I mean, I guess too, like that's kind of my why, and maybe that's more important. Is like when people tell you your dreams are dumb, it destroys your why, which destroys your motivation. So why am I gonna scrimp and save and go without? Which for a while I didn't. I was like, might as well not bother. It's dumb. I'm never gonna get ahead. It's dumb. I let people get in my head. I mean, some of us took a long time to recover from the pandemic, and I think some of us still are recovering from it on an emotional and mental level. Um, some are recovering still on a health level. I had long COVID. Luckily, I got it figured out. But I'm all better now for the most part. But I did not bounce back. I did not bounce back at all. I was just so thrown, and I mean, I think there was a certain amount of trauma that we all endured in the pandemic, whether we admit it or not. There was a trauma to seeing New York streets empty and other busy cities, or typically busy cities empty, and to seeing, all of those people suffering and dying and not being able to see loved ones and, you know, losing jobs and getting laid off. And I mean, there was so much that was traumatic. Children who were all of a sudden not going to school and, um, couldn't see their friends. My kid had asthma that was pretty bad. So, and his two best friends, one of the great things about his two best friends is both of their mothers worked in the hospital. One was a nurse and one was a respiratory specialist. So I never had to worry, like, when he was over at their house, because they knew what to do if he had an asthma attack, like, versus, like, some people would, like, absolutely panic. But he couldn't go to his friends' houses anymore because their parents worked in a hospital, and that was a danger to him. So there was trauma for my kid there. And I saw kids, like, I there's been a lot of trauma, and I think that it's taken us all a different amount of time to recover. And I mean, some people bounced back pretty quick. Some people still haven't. I was in the middle. I think I'm getting there. But when you let people tell you your dreams are dumb, it takes away your why. If your dream is to climb Mount Everest and everybody tells you it's dumb and you're never going to, why are you going to keep hiking every single day? Why are you going to, hike on hills and climb and try and maintain your health? Why are you going to go without, a fancy new car or something so you can save the money for that big trip? Why are you going to do that if it's dumb? You're not. If your dream is to buy a farm, if that's dumb and it's too much work, why are you going to go without now so that you can have that later? You're not. You're not going to give up anything if your dream is dumb. So your dream's not dumb. I don't care what it is. I mean, unless it's like something like mass homicide. That's not a good dream. But as long as your dream doesn't hurt anybody, it's not dumb. It's your why, and it's what makes you choose to scrimp and save. So for me, I love to travel. Travel is my hobby, and I really, and I've been in survival mode for a few years now, and it got really bad. I was really, really, really sick for a while. 2023, maybe May of 2023, I started writing my will, making plans for who was going to raise my kid if I died. It was bad, and nobody could figure out what was wrong. We still don't know exactly what happened or exactly what all I have. I mean, like, we know some of it, but I finally just, decided to figure it out myself, because if you're not in America, then you might not know. Or if you are lucky enough to have good insurance in America, you might not know. But a lot of time you see the doctor for 5 to 12 minutes, and they really don't listen. I mean, and in America, if you have a chronic illness or something, you're the one who has to figure it out. You have to research symptoms and research and figure out what fits. And then you have to go to your primary and you have to say, I have this, this, and this, and this. And then you have to convince them that you're not a hypochondriac. My doctor, because I can laugh at a 9. I can be at a 9 pain level and laugh, and then like be crying at a 10, because I laugh to cope with the pain. It's just like a coping mechanism. And so he thought when I was saying all these times I was at a 9, that I was lying. I was like, I go between a 7 and a 9. And then he saw me at a 10. He saw me ebb between a 10 and a 9. And he realized, oh crap, I had a next day appointment with a neurologist. That doesn't happen in America. Um, Less than 24-hour turnaround. But in America, if you are sick or have chronic illness, you or somebody who loves you has to figure it out. And then you have to find a doctor who believes you. And then you have to get through specialists. And then you have to convince them that you're not crazy and that you aren't a hypochondriac and that you haven't just Googled everything and that you legitimately have had these issues. And that's what it's like. You know, I mean, it's not like it is in house. Like, nope. And you know, I've figured out things that I have. I figured out things that my family members have had, and you know, it just is what it is. And I mean, not that there's not some doctors. I mean, my mom's had really good luck with doctors, but she has amazing insurance. So I don't know, but I am totally off on a tangent again. So I had just like kind of given up, and then I was in survival mode, but I've been really fighting since last May. May 7th was the day I decided, May 7th, 2024 was the day I decided I wanted to live. And that I was going to figure out what was wrong with me. And so I went to the library. I read a lot. I changed my diet. I logged everything I ate. And I just have been very on top of it. I've lost 140 pounds in less than 11 months. I can breathe again. That's amazing. I would quit breathing, and it's so weird. And I'm doing so much better in so many ways. And so now, for the first time in a couple of years, I am starting to get ahead again. I'm not completely behind, and I'm able to look to the future and say, what do I want to do now that I'm going to have money from being frugal? Because before, I mean, sometimes I'm frugal just because I want a reward, like travel. And other times I've been frugal in my life because I don't have a choice. I'm poor, I'm a single mom, I'm broke, I'm struggling, whatever. The reason I chose the 400 square foot home as a jumping off point is because, one, I could then build equity quickly, like pay it off and everything. And like, I mean, there's not a ton of equity or whatever, but you know, plan was to jump into a different house, keep building equity and everything. And that way I never wanted to have my mortgage and utilities and everything. I never wanted housing expenses to be over $1,000 because I always wanted to have extra money to travel. So that's why I chose this place. And I mean, plus I always wanted to try a tiny home. And then I figured I would either be a digital nomad and traveling in an even tinier home, or I would build a cab home, or I would more than likely just end up in a, you know, 800 to 900 square foot home and still be able to travel. But all of my dreams for so many years, everybody has told me that's dumb. And every so often I let people get in my head. Every time I do it, backfires. But the thing is that just because a dream's dumb to somebody else doesn't mean it's dumb, because it's your dream. And what I like isn't what they're gonna like, or you're gonna like. A lot of people are like, how can you live in a 400 square foot home? Other people are like, that's so cool that you live in a tiny home. It's got its ups and downs. A lot of people are like, it's so stupid that you cook every night. What a waste of time. It's not a waste of time to me because I've lost 140 pounds. I'm a lot healthier. I'm happier. And I save tons of money. I mean, like, so much money. If you've seen any of my recipes, like, you're going out and spending $20 on a meal and tipping a server, and I'm making it for 50 cents. So don't let anybody tell you your dreams are dumb, because your dream is your why. It's your why for existing. It's your why for everything you do. It's your why for saving. It's your why for working towards something. Today's tip for frugal living, even though it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with frugality, and I really feel like it has everything to do with everything, is don't let somebody tell your dream is dumb. Because your dream is your why, and your why is what helps you to save money. Anyways, again, my name is Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.